H3 Music.
Is this serious? Are we actually being serious? Sports! Yay.
It's insanity. Welcome into Cole's Corner, here live from WMCB The Fuse, in the basement of Medai College, home of the Mavericks. Good afternoon. It is a Thursday afternoon, very snowy here in Buffalo, but we're going to have a quick show today, just one segment, and I'm going to bring in James Misercola right around the corner and talk some college football, the college football playoff moving forward. So, let's start with this. You know, peaking. We've talked about it before. Peaking in high school. We see it a lot. We see a lot of people peak in high school. You have your jocks that rule the school, the king of the jungle walking around. They do whatever they want. They get whatever they want. Everything seems okay for them moving forward. They walking through the hallways. People part like the Red Sea. Everything's going well for them. And then, then life hits them. You go to college. They don't do their things. They drop out. They don't do well. Their parents are giving them chance after chance, giving them money. And then just things go downhill from there. Nothing ever really happens for them. We see it all the time. How about those DirecTV commercials? Rob Lowe at his peak. It says, choose DirecTV, not cable. Is it too unfair for me to say that both the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Philadelphia Eagles have peaked? They peaked last year in the 2017-2018 season. I'm not giving up on Philadelphia yet. They're still very much in it. They have a big game this Sunday in Dallas. That game's going to be for the division. They're at 6-6. If they can go into Jerry's World and put together a good football game and win, things are looking good. But for the most part this year, severe signs of peaking going on. So we'll start with the Eagles. We'll get to the Jacksonville Jaguars in a minute. The Eagles, they took the league by storm. They're an underdog. They're everything. They're going off. They have Carson Wentz. He is hitting his prime after a year of fixing everything, just get figuring out all the bolts and screws and just figuring it out. Yeah, he's in his second year. Everything's working. Offense is working. The scheme, the system, all the players. They're using everyone well. They're putting up 30-plus points over 12 times. And then Carson Wentz goes down. Everyone panics. They kind of limp to the end of the season in the playoffs with Nick Foles. Then out of nowhere, they win a game, they survive, and then they just destroy Minnesota on their home field in the NFC title game. Get to the Super Bowl, and they pull out the Philly special, and they beat New England. Heck of a story. But then is where we see these teams hit their peak, not be able to handle greatness, not be able to handle success. The Philadelphia Eagles got all political. They got all mixed up. They're mixed sides about not going to the White House. They had the dog masks coming out. They had people, Lane Johnson, saying he'd rather win one Super Bowl and be happy than win 5 and be miserable, taking shots at the Patriots. Doug Peterson wrote a book. They lose their offensive coordinator to Indianapolis. The Eagles hit their peak. They come in this year, win an ugly game on the season opener on Thursday night against Atlanta. If Atlanta scores in the final seconds, they lose that game. They lose to Tennessee in overtime. They blow a 17-point lead to Carolina in the fourth quarter. They barely beat the, at the time, 3-win New York Football Giants. They need a Jake Elliott field goal once again. Folks, this is peaking at its prime in the Philadelphia Eagles. If they can't win this Sunday, their season's over. and they'll go back down to missing the playoffs and having the worst record of a team that is coming off a Super Bowl. And then who knows what happens next year? Who knows? How about the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think they were the most exciting, most electrifying team in the league last season. They went through years and years of losing. It was over. They could not get the job done. No talent, just nothing was working. Out of nowhere, they have all these young stud players. They're flying all over the field. Blake Bortles is making plays. He's looking like a reliable quarterback in this league, maybe. Leonard Fournette was going off, running over everybody. Their defense, incredible. They go, and they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter in Foxborough in the AFC title game, after putting up winning at Heinz Field the week before in the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're up 10 in the fourth quarter in New England. That doesn't happen in January. That does not happen. They're that close. And then they get talking. They lose. It's a good season. It's a Cinderella story. You know, we'll be back next year. We'll be better, and we'll get better. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. Jalen Ramsey opens his mouth. We're going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to go there. We're going to win that. Blank, blank, blank. They got too much for him. They got in over their heads. You see, when these teams finally have a good season, after a lot of years of losing or just being just short, they can't handle it. Like I said, you get political, you get complacent, you don't work as hard in the off season, you get mouthy, you get too confident, and then things derail very quickly, and we have seen it. And it happens all the time. It's not just these two teams. We see it. That's why we see new contenders in every league every year. These teams, they're underdogs. They take the league by storm, immense talent, but then they die off when the expectations are put on them to perform. They get too confident. They can't handle the pressure. They show signs of greatness. We've seen signs of that Jaguars defense, like last week, shutting out Andrew Luck and the Colts. They are amazing. They showed signs of it when they had a 10-point lead with only a couple minutes left against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then they can't get over the hump. They blow it. You can't maintain it. They can't maintain that greatness that they show signs of. And it's just inevitable that one of the teams that's surprising everyone this year with a bright future will probably drop off next year. Who are some new teams this year that are showing up everyone? The Chicago Bears, Kansas City Chiefs, Houston Texans. It is no doubt that at least one of those three teams that I just mentioned is going to have a bad year next year, because they're not going to be able to handle the success that they had this year. It's just that simple. They're not going to be able to handle it. They're not going to work as hard. It's going to get too much for them. So we've seen a peak. And it all comes down to this Sunday. For Jacksonville, their season's over. They're not making the playoffs. They need to start figuring out what they're going to do with their quarterback next year. For the Eagles, they still have a chance, and it all happens this Sunday. If they win, they have a very good chance. If they lose, their season's over. If they don't go in and win in Dallas on Sunday, their season's over. I'm challenging Philadelphia to win 4 of their last 5 games and win the NFC East, because right now, Dallas has all the control. I'm challenging Philadelphia to make a run, win the NFC East, and prove me wrong. Well, that's it. That's it for that one. And, yeah, we hit a peak. But coming into the studio, James Misercola once again. Hey, James, how you doing?
Good, how you doing, Cole?
Good. So, just talking some college football. Finally happened, James.
Yeah.
We got to the point in the season.
Got to the playoff, yep.
Got to the college football playoff. The nominations that happened on Sunday. We got to see all the bowls shake out. What are you feeling after Sunday?
Well, first you had the SEC championship game was on Saturday, where Georgia choked. That's what happened against Alabama. I don't know why you'd go for 4th and 11 at midfield.
Oh,
in the fourth quarter. I mean that's just me.
Oh, we could get so into that.
And that kept Georgia out of the playoff. But I still think they should have gotten in because I think they're a better team than Oklahoma. And I don't think Oklahoma stands a chance against Alabama. And you saw Georgia put up a good fight against Alabama. And I think the committee took the 4 most deserving teams, not the 4 best teams. So, I mean, it is what it is. But Georgia is nobody but their coach to blame. So
that was
it was mind-boggling.
It's hard to describe, James.
It's almost like Pete Carroll in the Super Bowl against New England. That's almost how bad it was. So.
It's something where you kind of, in a way, have to give him credit for taking a chance like that. Because against a team like Alabama, and that's why there's 2 sides to it. Against a team like Alabama, you got to pull out all the stops you can get to get a win.
Right.
But at the same time, you had it in your back pocket.
If you're going to go for it on 4th and 11, why would you go for a fake punt? I mean, just call a regular play call. Or even a trick play. Just don't do a fake punt.
And not even that, but at midfield. You're giving probably the best offense in football the ball in their own territory.
It is what it is, but...
we could question every move made.
Jalen Hurts, though, he did a pretty good job coming in for an injured Tua. He's a big reason. He's probably the reason why Alabama won.
Definitely want to talk about that. That is just an awesome story, actually. Because James, if you think about it, this man, I believe he only had 1 loss in his career.
He's 26-2 as a starter.
As a starter. And he goes in and he brings Alabama all the way to the college football national championship again last year. He was their quarterback. He gets benched.
Yeah.
And he loses his job and has to watch another quarterback, the guy who was sitting behind him all year, take the glory for winning the national championship. And not only does that happen, but he could be a starting quarterback in any other team in the country. He decided to stay at Alabama and be the backup. And then it's inevitable that he was able to get his shot in their biggest game of the season here, and he drives them to victory.
Definitely. So, I mean, you gotta give Hurts credit definitely for sticking with it and not transferring. I mean, you look at who was it, Kelly Bryant at Clemson? He did the opposite.
Out 2 days after.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is, right after he transferred, they could have used him in the Syracuse game because they went down to their 3rd string quarterback and needed a miracle to win, which they got, but. I mean, so it is what it is. There's definitely 2 sides to it. And you look at Brian, he's going to Missouri next year, which is in Clemson. So, I mean, they're in the SEC, but they're not Clemson caliber. So, it's like I know you only have like 5 years to use 4 years of college eligibility. So, you're basically deciding, would I rather be a backup on one of the best teams in the country or not even get the starting job, compete for the starting job on like I'm not going to say Missouri's a mediocre SEC team. They're like middle of the pack. So
so definitely a cool story there. I give Jalen Hurts a lot of props for staying there and dealing with that and then getting his chance and coming through.
Definitely.
But, if we talk about those games real quick, we talked a little bit about the Alabama Georgia game. But how about the other... What'd you see in the Big 12 title game? You didn't watch it.
I'm not really.
Honestly, I only watched a little bit too.
I saw a couple highlights, but I mean, it was on at the Barber.
But was it expected?
Yeah.
Ohio State had chances to pull that thing out.
In the Big Ten,
and it's something you talked about. You mentioned the other day to me that the only thing you got right from last time was Urban Meyer and him stepping down, but. Something else you did get right was the fact that in order for Ohio State to get in, they needed to really blow out Northwestern, and they couldn't do that.
Yeah, I watched the whole Big Ten title game, and Northwestern, they did what Northwestern did. They hung in, they played at the opponent's level, and it was a game. It was I want to say it was like 24-21 Ohio State in the 4th quarter, and then Dwayne Haskins just took over. He was absolutely tremendous the last 2 weeks of the season. So. And the 3 weeks, too, because they needed him to beat Maryland, too, before the Michigan game. So
Did you see any other games? Any title games?
Trying to think.
ACC.
No, I didn't see that was a blowout.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be. It's just a lopsided. I mean, it's hard to look at it because Syracuse almost beat Clemson and then Pitt beat Syracuse. So you think maybe it's a close game, but I just that matchup head to head, Clemson definitely had a huge edge over Pitt.
What do you think of Syracuse's bowl selection?
I like it, James, because listen to this. I might be able to go because they're in Orlando while I'm in Orlando.
Nice.
So I may be getting the trip there.
It's like I read on Twitter that Syracuse, they turned down a Pinstripe Bowl invite, and the 1 year that they're bowl eligible, they deserve a better bowl than the Pinstripe Bowl, and they got it. And don't forget, they already played in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, I mean. It's either get a bigger bowl or go to play somewhere you've already played. Yeah,
before. They've been there, two or three times?
They've been there twice.
Twice in the Marone era.
3 times, I believe.
3 times
total.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess let's just look at some of the regular bowl games. Just pick out ones that kind of.
Well, I mean, the Rose Bowl definitely gives you interest because it's going to be Urban Meyer's last game at Ohio State, and they're playing a Washington team that wanted just the Pac-12 that was atrocious all year long. And I know a lot of Pac-12 fans want that Commissioner Larry Scott fired. So, but I mean, I would think Ohio State would definitely win the Rose Bowl. So. And then you get Michigan in the Peach Bowl against Florida. I mean, what can I say? They played each other 3 or 4 times in like the last 4 years. Ever since they played Florida more times since Harbaugh's been in Michigan. The Michigan's played a few Big Ten West teams. So I mean, there's not much to say about Michigan. The Ohio State game was an absolute disgrace. I mean, Harbaugh should be embarrassed. He's lucky Urban Meyer's retiring because there was no way he was going to beat him. So. They didn't come to play, and give Urban Meyer credit. The Ohio State played tremendous in that game.
Oh, yeah.
And the Ohio State team that showed up against Michigan was not the Ohio State team that was there weeks 1 to 11. So he got them ready to play in the game. Harbaugh didn't, and that's that, you know?
Yeah, and I saw something about that in Urban Meyer telling a reporter. A lot of those games, those rivalry games, those big games in the big stage, a lot of it is the preparation,
right?
And he feels that he won in the preparation standpoint.
Absolutely. Now, I saw that Ohio State, they prepare for Michigan each week of the season, so in practice. So they add plays. I mean, they pay attention to Michigan so that they're not just scouting them at the end of the year. And you want a similar team that does that is with Army and Navy because they play each other this weekend. And Army's a big favorite. I think 7 points, but I mean they have a much better record than Navy. Navy's like 3-9, I think Army 9-3 maybe, but and they're almost mirror teams. I mean, they both run the triple option. They're both service academies, and it should be interesting. Army won last year on a missed field goal that would have been good, but Navy it was a false start penalty on the play before, and it pushed him back 5 yards and ended up costing him. So. I mean, Army's won 2 years in a row, which is pretty amazing, too, considering how bad they've been in recent memory. So, what
are you looking for in the Fiesta Bowl? The unbeaten UCF and LSU?
I hope LSU wins just to shut that fan base up. UCF, I mean, they play in a garbage conference. I mean, you compare the American to any Power 5 conference, and there is no way in hell UCF would go undefeated in the Big Ten, the ACC, the Pac-12, and of course not the SEC. So, I mean, when you're playing teams like East Carolina, UConn was the worst team in FBS this year, especially defensively. I mean, it's not that hard to win. So
you just want LSU to win to shut them up.
I mean, they can be mad that they're not getting the respect, but I mean, they don't play in a Power 5 conference. I mean, there's nothing they can do about it, but it just is the way it is. So,
any other of these bowl games, not the main ones that kind of catch your eye?
Well, obviously Northwestern against Utah. Those are the 2 teams that lost in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 title games. So, I mean, it should be good. I mean, Northwestern, they usually play well in bowl games. The only one I can think of in recent memory that wasn't close, they got killed by Tennessee. It was the 2015 season, but the 2016 it was a New Year's Six game. I don't remember what the name of it was, but yeah. Look at Purdue. I was a little surprised that Jeff Brom decided to stay at Purdue instead of going home to Louisville, but give him credit. He wants to finish what he started. And, and the Big Ten West is a lot of parity in that division. You saw Northwestern winning it this year. And you compare it to the Big Ten East, and it's not even close how much weaker it is.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Army 9-2 against Houston. Oh, let's talk about UB. They choked in the MAC championship game. I mean, 29-10 lead, and they got 20 unanswered points from Northern Illinois, and UB has nobody to blame but themselves. So.
Mm-hmm. Missed extra point, killed them.
Yeah. Oh, their kicking's been atrocious all year long. Their kicker, Mitchinson, I think he missed 14 career extra points.
That's rough.
At least.
That's rough.
And he's a Division I kicker. A Division I kicker missing that many extra points is just amazing.
And it's not the NFL that backed their extra points up. It's a regular
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's not that bad on field goals either. It was just the extra points. So.
All right. So I guess we'll just preview this college football playoff, the Final Four.
Okay,
I mean, we got Clemson, Notre Dame in the Cotton Bowl, December 29th
I actually think I think Notre Dame's going to win that game.
Think so?
I think Book is. I think he's going to lead them to win that game. I think it's going to be Notre Dame, Alabama in the national. I don't think Oklahoma stands a chance against Alabama. Notre Dame.
You don't think so?
No. Not now with that defense. For Oklahoma. Notre Dame, Alabama in the national championship game. It'll be a rematch of the BCS national championship game. It was a 2012 season, but obviously it happened in January of 2013. That was the Manti Te'o fake girlfriend. Yes, so
that was quite a year.
And Notre Dame got embarrassed in that game.
Oh, yeah, they did.
I mean, that's what most teams do when they play Alabama.
But let's talk about that Clemson Notre Dame. Why do you think that Notre Dame has the edge here? Because I'm going in. I would love to see Notre Dame win, but I feel like Clemson's going to take it. But let me hear your side.
Notre Dame, they get the extra week off because they didn't have to play in the obviously, they don't play in the conference, so they have no ACC title game.
Do you think an extra week, that much time, kind of helps or hurts?
Well, I mean,
the team?
if you have injuries, it definitely gives you an extra week to rest. So, and it's one less week on tape too that Clemson can look at. So.
That's true. I'm thinking of it in a psychological kind of way. That's a long time. Well, that's 5 weeks of waiting and not playing football almost.
I mean, it's only a week more than everyone else, so it's. I don't think it's gonna be too big a deal. So. Yeah.
And then the Alabama, Oklahoma.
No chance.
No chance.
No chance.
Zero chance. Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I mean, I feel like the only way Oklahoma has a chance here is if somehow their defense comes up with necessary
they're
stops.
They're playing the Big 12. I mean, that's enough said. So.
That's enough said. I mean, because obviously they can score.
Right,
They can
Kyler
score.
Murray,
Kyler Murray's phenomenal. He was actually just named Player of the Year today.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Heisman candidates in a second, but they can obviously score.
Yeah.
They're very electric. That's the Big 12. But when you go up against a team that has the best offense, the best defense, and you combine it into one.
It's why Alabama's Alabama.
All Alabama needs is a couple stops here and there, and they'll have it wrapped up, I think. So, all right, so James has Alabama beating Notre Dame in the title game. We'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
We'll keep that. But all right, let's look at the Heisman finalists real quick.
Yeah, Haskins.
Here, I'll pull that up. But
was it Haskins, Tua T, and Kyler Murray?
So what do you think? What do you think's going to be the deciding factor?
Well, you have to take into account that that Kyler Murray plays in the Big 12. I mean, it's not his fault, but the defenses in the Big 12 were just an embarrassment. But and then the thing with Tua is he's barely played in the fourth quarter this year at all because Alabama's been ahead so much in games.
So do you take that into account? Do you think that because he played less minutes? I don't know.
That's not his fault.
I know.
And neither is Murray playing in the Big 12. But I actually think of all the three, at least the last, I know it's the whole season, but the last 3 weeks, the most impressive quarterback three has been Haskins. His passing, he set the Big Ten record for most passing touchdowns this year, and he broke Denard Robinson's record when it was 2011 or 2012. And I think Haskins has been the most impressive. So.
And it says here, like, he threw 47 touchdowns, 7 more than any other quarterback in the entire country.
Yeah.
It's seven. It's not like it's 1 or 2.
Right.
7 is a whole. That's 2 games of a good game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Haskins also, he completed 70% of his passes.
One more thing, it's not like these Big Ten teams put up a lot of points either. So I mean, 47 touchdowns is impressive.
Yeah, it's 70% completion percentage. 4,500 yards. Look at Kyler Murray's numbers. He's also that's another thing. Look, he got drafted by the Oakland Athletics.
I think he's probably going to play baseball.
I think so.
Yeah. As a baseball player, you think he'll be able to transition over easily?
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy playing 2 sports. That's for sure.
Right.
I mean,
I think it's only going to be one once he goes to baseball.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Murray threw for 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns. So he was second to Barrett. I'm Haskins. I'm thinking
last year.
40 touchdowns. So he was in second, 7 behind. He also had a 70% completion percentage, just 500 less yards, but he was also at 892 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns on his feet. So, and then Tua, he only 3,353 yards.
Yeah.
But if you take into account his sitting the fourth quarter, still had 37 touchdown passes.
I don't know how you measure that against the other two because you're taking what ifs.
That's really tough.
You're taking what ifs.
What if he played the fourth quarter?
And you really can't make a point using a what if. But I think he could be a victim of his team's success. Not.
But here's the thing. This is where when I talk baseball with Connor and like the MVP race.
Yeah.
What it all comes down to for me is which player is the most valuable to their team. What player would with their loss, with them not being there, would be
I think
more detrimental
you definitely
to their
take
team.
Tua out of that equation because you saw
exactly. We saw what Jalen Hurts can do.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing that's tough though is that we can't. It's tough to take that away from him just because he has a good counterpart sitting behind him.
Well, it's not just Hurts. I mean, Alabama's Alabama. A lot of quarterbacks could do pretty well with that.
And you look at Oklahoma. What is Oklahoma without Kyler Murray?
Right.
What is what is Ohio State without Dwayne Haskins throwing 47 touchdown passes?
Well, they would have the Burrow, the quarterback from LSU. He competed with Haskins for the Ohio State job this year. And he lost Haskins, and he transferred to LSU. So I mean, it would have been him against Haskins, but you really can't compare that. But I'm just saying that's what the scenario would have been. Yeah. Yes. I think.
So if you had to pick one right
probably
now,
Haskins, because when you take into account how the Big Ten is not a high-scoring league, and you also take into account how the Big 12 they play absolutely no defense. I mean, you look at. I think Ohio. I think it would be Haskins.
So you would pick Haskins.
Yeah.
What do you think is gonna? Who do you think might get picked just based on what we've seen in the past and the guys that get picked to win the Heisman Trophy? Because if it's me, I'm thinking. I feel like everyone is all over Tua right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be shocked if he didn't win.
Yeah. I don't know, but you look at I mean, I'm not a big analytics guy, but if you look at the analytics, maybe they say different. I mean, that's how Ohtani won the AL MVP, Rookie of the Year this year, which was a joke.
We talked about that with Connor one day.
So it'll definitely be interesting. So
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to get to?
Just Ohio State's definitely they made a good hire by giving Ryan Day the full-time job after Urban Meyer left. They don't even have to do a search, and he had a 3-game trial this year as head coach, and he did pretty well. So I mean, Ohio State's Ohio State too. I mean, you don't really. All you gotta do is beat Michigan, and they'll be happy there. But I mean, they haven't had I can't remember the last time they had a losing season because when was it Tressel got fired from the Terrell Pryor tattoo gate scandal? They lost to Michigan, but they went 6-6 that year, so that wasn't even a losing season. So, I mean, all he's got to do is beat Michigan, which hasn't been hard. So for them,
you talk about this year and Harbaugh never being able to beat.
He was never going to beat Urban Meyer. So I mean, the fact that he's gone is just a formality now. Urban Meyer's gone.
One more thing, James. There's been talks of what maybe college coaches, because we see it time and time we see college coaches move up to the NFL.
Yeah.
There's been talks about Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma,
yeah.
because he kind of reminds a lot of people of a Sean McVay
I think that's
or
what,
Matt Nagy,
yeah.
a very offensive-minded genius kind of schemes. Do you see him going to the NFL next year?
It would have to be Cleveland, I think, because I think he'd want.
so?
I think he'd want to go with Baker Mayfield. So, I mean, the thing is, though,
there would be a relationship
right.
there.
Just because McVay worked out in the NFL doesn't mean that
Fully agree.
Lincoln Riley will. But I mean, you won't know until you try. So.
Yeah, and the way this league is turning into, it's all
All
offense,
offense,
all
offense.
all precision passing, pocket passing.
Yep.
That's what it's turned to,
Yeah.
and that's why you see the teams succeeding right now are the teams with very good offensive schemes. The
and
Chiefs,
that
the Rams,
Chiefs-Rams
the Bears.
game was a perfect example from a couple weeks ago. So,
Yeah, and we saw that in that shootout that Monday night game.
Yeah, that was tremendous. So.
But anyway, I think that is it. Thank you, James, very much for joining.
Okay.
And that's going to do it for the show today. A short one. Thank you for joining. You have been watching Cole's Corner.